Hi guys, and welcome to Freckle Finance. Today's video is answering one of the questions left in the Q&A video that I had regarding my hobbies. Are they frugal, and what are the hobbies that I have with my husband, kind of incorporating all of those. So here we go. So I'm actually someone who has a lot of hobbies. I really like doing a lot of things, and honestly I'm hoping that's going to help me kind of get by in California while I'm not able to work. So this is probably not an all-inclusive list because I sometimes forget what I'm interested in, which is kind of weird, but whatever. These are the ones that I have individually on my own, and then I'm going to list my husband's and then the ones that we have together. So I like reading, I like biking, hiking, swimming, cooking, baking, walking, doing spinning classes, and of course, making YouTube videos. So none of my hobbies really cost that much money. I do spend some money on cooking and baking because I make some pretty fancy dishes, but overall I wouldn't consider it that expensive of a hobby, and it probably saves money from having to go to a restaurant to eat some of these fancy dishes in the first place. But YouTube has cost me a bit of money. I did buy a nice camera, which we also use for our everyday use as well, and a tripod. So far I have not made up that money, but I do expect with time, once I'm able to start earning money again, that I will eventually make back the money that I did spend to start this YouTube channel. And so generally most of my hobbies cost almost no money. However, that doesn't mean that these hobbies don't cost other people some money. I do like to bike. I don't buy an expensive bike, but some people get really into their biking gear, and there's a lot of sports where you can end up spending a lot of money. I just choose not to. And keep in mind that me and my husband have never really been big spenders in the first place. We get kind of uncomfortable if we start spending too much money. And so that's probably why we naturally go towards some less expensive hobbies. For my husband's hobbies that he has on his own, he pretty much has playing video games and photography. Now, luckily with photography, he can do this with the same equipment I use for my YouTube channel. So that works out really great. And for video games, he doesn't spend really that much money on video games in the first place, and a lot of them he buys during Steam sales or in bundles, like a Humble Bundle or something like that. So he doesn't really spend that much money on video games, and he will play them for a long time. He will play most of the games fully through, and let's not make it look like he plays a ton of video games, because he really doesn't, which also shows that he doesn't spend a lot of money on video games in the first place. But those are his main hobbies that he has kind of on his own. So for hobbies that we kind of have together, our most expensive hobby would be kayaking, which we don't own a kayak, and we usually only go kayaking a few times a year, and that usually ends up total costing $150. So by no means is our kayaking a very expensive hobby. And we also like astronomy, which is kind of weird to say it's as a hobby. We don't own a telescope or anything like that. A lot of it is just us discussing astronomy together, and we do have a friend that has a telescope, so we have gone to his house and looked at Saturn and stuff like that. And we also like talking about finances, so I don't know if people would consider that a hobby. I definitely consider it a hobby of mine. My husband also goes out of his way to read finance related stuff, and so overall, not very expensive hobbies that we have. And I just realized, I think I forgot to include in my hobbies reading. I have read, according to my Goodreads, 23 books since December, and so that's quite a lot of books, but the vast majority of them I get from the library, and they're not top name books. I pretty much judge a book by its cover. I know you're not supposed to do that, but it's generally worked for me, and I just grab the book, I read it, I return it to the library. So once again, not a very expensive hobby, but could be an expensive hobby if you care about having a collection, which I don't unless they're a more popular or a book that I really like. As I stated, throughout the year, we don't really spend that much on our hobbies. We're just not really big spenders. However, if there's one hobby I can try to get my husband into, which I haven't done in a long time, since I was a kid, and I loved doing as a kid, would be to get into camping. And I'm going to try to convince him, and maybe I can get some camping gear for Christmas this year or something. Hint, hint. But I really like camping, and overall that can help lower the cost of going on vacation, which is great. But there is kind of a significant start-off cost because we have absolutely zero camping gear, and since we're moving away from all of our family and most of our friends, we obviously have no one we can borrow this stuff from either. So Still, once again, not an expensive hobby, but that would be a very expensive startup cost, and over the years would not be that much, except for if it has anything to do with how often we had to replace tents as a child. We will probably have to replace tents often, because I don't know. I apparently don't treat tents very well. So I want to know what hobbies you guys have. Are they expensive? Are they cheap? Are they traditionally expensive hobbies, but you guys have figured out a way to make it cheap? I want to know down below. I'm sure other people want to know good hobbies that aren't inexpensive as well. If you haven't subscribed to my channel already, make sure you click that subscribe button below, and thumbs up for cheap hobbies. And remember, no matter what your financial situation is, make sure to have a great day. Bye.